When you're in your 20s, life can feel like it's moving at full speed. Between work or studies, social commitments, and trying to figure out adulting, suddenly skipping breakfast becomes a habit, and ordering in becomes an easy solution. I personally had so many days when I convinced myself that a coffee and a granola bar were a good breakfast. Other times, I'm ashamed to admit, I realized I'd forgotten to eat lunch and it was 8 p.m. After finding out I have developed a moderate sensitivity to gluten, added to my lactose intolerance and the usual story of facing digestion issues over the years, choosing meals that work for my body became difficult. At first, I didn't care or put too much focus on it, eating what I wanted whenever I felt like. But that didn't serve me well. I was constantly bloated, my skin was bad, and I didn't feel comfortable in my body. What I've come to realize recently is that what you eat during this phase of your life matters more than you think. It sets you up for a future with a much lower chance of developing diseases and allows you to be confident in your body because you will be eating food that nourishes you. The simple truth is, our energy, skin, and focus are all connected to our gut. The funny thing is, my social media timelines are full of content creators who talk about clean eating, which, yes, I am glad for, but these recommendations can be damaging at times. And the real challenge is finding something that works with your own body and lifestyle. I'm Hala Nasar, and welcome back to How to Adult, a podcast from The National where we figure out the life skills nobody taught us. In this episode, we're talking about something we all do every day: eating. More specifically, how to eat well when you have just started adulting. We will first hear from Aarti, who spends time preparing her meals every Sunday to last her throughout the week. Then, I'll talk to a nutritionist who will guide us on how to find joy in food as you take control of your nutrition in adulthood. Joining me now is Aarti, a features sub-editor here at The National. She relies on her trusted recipes to give her comforting sustenance, making meals across different flavors and taste profiles. Aarti, thank you for joining me today in the studio.
Thank you for having me, Hala.
So, the biggest question is, why do you meal prep?
So I'll tell you something. I actually didn't learn how to cook properly till the pandemic. And even then, I would cook as a one-off and not all the time. But I started training and properly working out towards a weight loss goal last year. And that's when I was like, of course, nutrition is a very big part of it. And I am generally a lazy person and I cannot cook every day. So I cook on Sunday mornings. I'm like, okay, what am I feeling like this week? What do I want to eat? And how can I make it still low calorie, delicious? Because if it's not delicious, I'm not going to eat it. And something that's still a balanced meal. So it still has the proteins and the fiber and like maybe a bit of carbs, because obviously I'm working towards a weight loss goal. So every week I think about what I want to eat, what I'll be okay with eating maybe 2-3 days in a row.
Yeah, that's important.
It is. So that's the one thing. Like, as much as I love to eat and I like to eat different things, or what I'll also do is, okay, maybe I want 2 things. So I'll probably prep 2 things, two to three things to give myself the option during the week. Okay, what do I feel like eating today?
Right.
So then I do that by Friday evening. Saturday is when I do my grocery shopping. And then Sunday mornings is when I cook. So I'm sorted for the week ahead.
So there's a lot of things I want to ask you. Let's start with the weekend.
Okay.
You take the weekend as your days to prep for the week. You make a grocery list, you think about the meals, and then you cook on Sunday. What does that look like? Can you tell me the exact process of how that goes?
So I'll tell you something. I actually love supermarkets. So I look forward to going to the supermarket every Saturday, have a little me time, plug my music in, walk around the aisles. I love that too. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I definitely end up buying more than I should. Like the number the number of spices I have is not healthy for one person. Like the variety of spices. And that also gets me excited. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to try this today, or maybe I'm going to try this today. Because the thing with food for me also is that I crave a lot of my comfort food. And for me, comfort food is Indian food. It's Indian food home food that I grew up eating. So I like to kind of replicate those flavors, but every once in a while, I like to switch it up. So maybe one week I'll cook Indian, but then the next week I'll do something that's, Chinese inspired, or some week that's Mexican flavors,
Ooh.
or something that, like, a few weeks ago, I made like a Greek bowl. So I made like all the different components of it. Because I also like to think of things that I'd like to eat. If I'm like, okay, I want to order something, what do I want to order? But how can I make it at home where I know it's healthier, it's cleaner, it's good, and it's to my taste. Like for me, I like a lot of garlic, I like a lot of spice, and not every place is going to get that right. And also, if I'm working so hard, that I don't want to kind of undo that. Though of course, I'm not going to lie, I do cheat meals, I do go out and eat. But as far as possible, I try to make it at home as much as I can. Like if I'm craving pasta, for example, I'll make the meatballs at home. So I'll get like a minced chicken and like basil. I have, of course, all the spices at home, the spice mixes with oregano and thyme and rosemary and everything.
I love
Again,
that so much.
exactly. And then what I do is I've got half a kilo of minced chicken, but of course I'm not going to use all of that. So I'll make the balls, cook it that week, and the rest I can freeze for the week after or a couple of weeks later when I crave the same things, but I have a little base ready. So I try to look for like cheats in that way, or like lazy ways out that give me a break. Maybe
Lazy
say a few
girl
weeks-
hacks.
Lazy girl hacks, basically, because I am a lazy girl. I like
Own it.
shortcuts. Yeah, I like shortcuts.
Of course, meal prep is usually looked at as if it's something that only people that are very into their fitness journey are doing, or something that maybe people that are looking to get fitter or have a certain condition do. But in reality, it's Lazy Girl approved, number one.
Also, it saves you a lot of money. If you calculate
me.
how much
Yeah.
you're going to order, for example, you go out, you order a salad. Salads can be ridiculously expensive, 50, 60 dirhams, on a bowl of chopped up veggies and chicken and beans. Now, if you go to a grocery, for example, you buy, say, half a kilo chicken for 30 something. You're not even going to eat that for one meal. That's good for you for 5 to 6 meals. So even if you're going to, if you're eating something very protein heavy, at least 3 meals. And then you buy your lettuce. Lettuce is 3 dirhams, 4 dirhams. Can of beans, 3 dirhams, 4 dirhams. So you're basically making yourself a bunch of meals for what you would spend on one salad for one meal. Exactly.
And that's the trap that a lot of people that fall into. But the reason that this episode is so important is because people that are just starting out in their careers as well, or a job, or trying to budget,
Yeah.
or trying to get a hold of their finances or make good financial decisions,
Yeah.
it's important for them to build that sort of habit, I guess.
Exactly. And the thing
And
is,
for their body as well.
for their body, because when you're cooking at home, you know what oil you're using. You know how well you're washing your vegetables. Because I am very particular about that. I'm like,
Scrubbing.
if I go to a restaurant and I feel the kitchen is sus, I'm not going to order food because I'm a bit of a germaphobe. Okay. So for me, everything has to be washed properly. For example, if I bring berries home, and again, I like to buy berries when they're on sale. So I'll buy it if there's like a big tray of strawberries is going for really cheap. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to come and soak it in baking soda and vinegar for like about 10, 15
Wow.
minutes, because that takes, first of all the gunk out. And there's also some bugs apparently on the surface of the strawberry, which this mix kills. Wash it off, dry it properly, cut the stalks off, and then you freeze them. And then you're sorted for like a month. So whether you can do it, you can add the frozen strawberries to your smoothies, you can make bowls out of it, add it to your overnight oats. Overnight oats is something I prep for breakfast for myself. So I do different flavors, again, to keep it interesting. This week, for example, I went to Zaidpur to buy myself mangoes because I love mangoes.
Amazing.
And they're in season.
It's mango
and-
season.
Exactly. So I do like mango and coconut milk oats, or like a chia pudding, and then top it off with fresh mangoes and almonds, maybe a little bit of flaxseed powder for omega-3. So it's very easy. Again, and a lot of people tend to think that it takes too much time or too much effort. But as I told you, I'm a lazy girl. I don't spend more than maybe an hour and a half, maximum 2 hours cooking on Sunday mornings. And then for the rest of the week, I have a breakfast option, I have a lunch option, and I have a dinner option sitting in my
Wow.
fridge. And I can mix things up. If I'm like, okay, I ate this for lunch yesterday, I can eat the other thing that I'd cook for dinner for lunch. So just to mix it up. And it just makes your life a lot easier. Of course, you can plan it in a way that, okay, I have this week, I'm going out with friends, so maybe not that night. So you can adjust the quantity accordingly. Or if you've cooked something, freeze it. The freezer is your friend. You can.
Oh, the freezer is your
It really
friend.
is.
You're inspiring me to go do this. I mean, can I pay you to do this for me?
Sure, Sunday mornings.
Sunday morning. See you then.
Or you can come shadow me and actually that's the
Yes.
thing. It's so easy. Throughout this journey, one thing I've realized is that I cannot suppress cravings because it'll only get worse. If I want something, I'm going to find a way to make it in a slightly better way. So, and the thing is, even if you eat that slice of cake, it's not the end of the world. But it also kind of drives you to try new things, to feed yourself better, because what you're doing is that you're nourishing your body and with things that you want to eat. So I feel like it's such a win-win situation.
That's it. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, we've been having this conversation, assuming that maybe the person listening would want to meal prep and meal plan, and they may know how to cook. But what if somebody doesn't know how to cook, but really wants to meal prep and plan?
The internet is your friend. And the thing with cooking, I'll tell you. So I'm cooking to eat healthy and everything. But as much as I have tried to understand it, I don't understand how to calculate all the different percentages and like macros and whatever. Like, to me, that kind of is a bit beyond my...
You're just a girl.
Yeah, just a girl trying to eat healthy and get by. Just use common sense. It's so easy. Like,
use your brain.
It's just say you've got a plate, so you have little more than a 1/4 protein, little bit of carbs, and like lots of fiber. Because as an adult, you still know what you need. And again, the internet's your friend. For me, I told you I started cooking during the pandemic. I used to constantly message my mom saying, "Oh, I remember that. Can you send me the recipe for this? Can you send me the recipe for that?" And the thing is, for the first few times, you're not going to get it right. You're going to make something that has too much salt, too much pepper, too spicy, not seasoned enough. And the thing is, the more you do it, the better you get.
But basically manage your expectations. It's okay if you don't get
things. It's okay to
things.
disappoint yourself, but have things on hand that can help improve flavor.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the more you improvise, the more you are expanding your horizons, and you'll be like, okay, I can do this next time.
So I guess my final question to you is, what difference has meal prepping made in your life?
It's something it's become a very important part of my routine. And as I told you, I love to eat. So my Saturday is, what do I want to eat this week, And I find joy in it. And the thing is, I don't see it as something I have to do or something I don't like doing. That's the time I wake up early Sunday morning because I work on Sundays. So this is before my shift starts. I'll put on an audiobook and I'll have that going while I'm chopping everything and getting everything ready. Because the cooking process itself doesn't usually take that long. It's the chopping and preparing and everything, just setting up for the cooking that takes time. I love that time because I have my balcony open when it's nice and cool in the morning. Maybe not these days. But, and I have my audiobook going and it's just very meditative. I find so much peace in it.
That's so lovely.
It's that's what I'm saying. If you start taking joy in it, it's something that's very nice to do. Like you're doing it for yourself. So for me, that's become a very important part of my routine.
Yay, that's such a nice way to end this.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me today, Aarti.
Thank you, Hala.
I'm certainly more inspired to cook my food more often now. And it seems there's an endless excitement to this and a satisfaction that I've been missing. So
there is.
I will get on it.
And I will ask you what you're making next week.
Stay tuned for that.
Thank you.
To help us understand how to approach nutrition in our 20s and why it matters, I'm joined by Aisling Oslizlok. She's a licensed clinical dietitian based in Dubai with a master's degree in human nutrition and dietetics, and years of experience helping people make informed, sustainable choices around food. She's joining me now to break down the fundamentals of nutrition at this life stage and how our dietary needs change as we become more independent, as well as how food and fitness work together to support long-term well-being. Aisling, thank you for joining me today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, what does being on a nutritious diet really mean?
It's a great question and a great place to begin because there is so much information around today about nutrition, and what that means is very different to everyone. Really, if we break it down to the basics, Hala, having a nutritious diet and a nutritious lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, it really comes down to fueling your body with what feels good for you. There's no right or wrong way, with a few exceptions, But really it comes down to eating the foods that fuel your body in the right way that helps you to feel your best.
Right. I feel like this is important because when people think of nutrition, they think there is one formula. When it comes to nutrition, you should eat your greens, some protein, no carbs, no fat, that sort of thing, or less carbs. And while a little bit of that makes sense, I feel like it's a little bit bigger than that. So why is it so important to focus on eating well and healthy in our 20s and 30s, but without overdoing it?
Well, I think what you just said there is just so insightful, because we have become absolutely obsessed as a culture with food, and not just with food, but with specific nutrients. So we hear a lot about fiber. We hear a lot about protein. Protein is everywhere at the moment. We hear a lot about different types of protein. Should we be taking creatine? Should we be taking collagen, for example? And we've really moved so far away from what it's really all about. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is going back to basics with food, and looking at food specifically in our 20s and 30s. So this is a time of our lives where our body is at its best capacity for its peak physical composition. And in order to reach that peak physical composition, we should be fueling our bodies with the right foods. We want to get the right foods so that we can build strong bones. We want to establish healthy eating patterns that are going to stay with us for life, well into our, hopefully, 80s and 90s. Help us to prevent those chronic conditions, things like obesity, diabetes, really looking at kind of how we can eat in a way that we feel good.
I'm so glad you brought up the point about protein, because I know nutritionists and fitness trainers online always preach about having protein in your diet.
Yes.
But what does that really look like, for example, a regular person, but also somebody who doesn't eat the protein we know of, like chicken and meat?
Yes.
And is it true that a protein-based diet is good for everyone?
Most people get more protein than they need. And we really do not need to be so obsessed with things like protein shakes, protein bars. Everything that you see nowadays in the supermarkets has that health halo, I like to call it, of added protein, high in protein, extra protein.
Wow, that's controversial. I love that.
But it's true. And protein is absolutely vital for our bodies. We need protein to be able to lay down those muscle stores. We need protein to build lean muscle. But we do not need the amounts of protein that you sometimes see on social media. To answer your question, what does protein look like? The best source of protein that you can get to build lean muscle mass, which is really important for your metabolic health, is protein that you get directly from food. So not protein that you get from a tub. So the best sources of protein, it can be animal-based, it can also be plant-based. And here's where working with a trained nutrition professional can really help you to establish how much protein your body actually needs. Because we're built so differently. The amount of physical activity you do, the amount of the type of diet that you like to eat, whether that's from a preference point of view or a cultural point of view, all of that will play a role in how much protein your body needs. And by working with a trained nutritionist or a dietitian, they can help you to establish, right, your body needs X amount of protein to help you to reach the goals that you want to reach, whether that's building more muscle mass or whether that's weight loss, for example, or even weight gain.
Yeah. Many people, when they hit a certain age, realize they want to be healthier or lose weight or reach a certain weight goal. And that's maybe from a standpoint of aesthetics sometimes. This is great, but at times we slip into unhealthy eating habits as a result. How do we avoid that?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because with the rise of clean eating that is all over social media these days, we have become, like I was saying earlier, just really obsessed with foods. And it can so easily slip into wanting to eat a little bit healthier, wanting to eat a little bit cleaner, to becoming really unhealthily focused on food. And we have seen a significant rise in disordered eating over the last 10 years. And a lot of that has to do with, like you were saying, this focus on aesthetic nutrition. And it's really, really important to remember that aesthetic doesn't necessarily mean healthy. Trendy does not necessarily mean healthy. I'm sure you've heard of all of the different types of diets over the last couple of years. We've had a stage where everyone was vegan for a while, and then that switched to people saying that actually carnivore is the way to go. A lot of people still on keto diets. Back when I was studying as a dietitian, the Atkins diet was really popular, and these all come and go, these trends. But this is where going back to basics can really help to ground people if they're so overwhelmed by nutrition advice. Going back to basics is a really good place to start.
Tell me about the basics then.
So the basics really are, I always say to people, we live in the UAE. It's such a multicultural community here, and the nutrition basics for everyone is different. So go back to your roots. If a style of eating that I think has a lot of very good, healthy foundations is like a Mediterranean style of eating. That's similar to diets that you see in Lebanon, that you see in Jordan, some parts of North Africa. These are diets that are very focused on whole foods. So whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, pulses, lean proteins, oily fish, and healthy fats. Fat is not to be feared. Carbs are not to be feared.
I love that. I see that often with maybe younger people now that are on social media or have been exposed to maybe certain attitudes from their families about how you eat. It changes you, and it changes the way you eat, and it changes the way that you look at food, your relationship with food.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel so bad for carbs. They have gotten such a bad rap over the last 10, 15 years.
Who doesn't love bread?
I know, who doesn't love a carb? But the thing about carbs, if we just take that as an example, this is an umbrella term for a massive spectrum of foods. So things like whole grains, quinoa, couscous, pasta, they would fall under the carbohydrate umbrella, just the same way that refined sugar, sweets, candies, lollies all fall under a carbohydrate food as well. So there is a massive spectrum there between what is a healthy carbohydrate and what is maybe a less healthy carbohydrate. And something you said there that I thought is really worth repeating is the influences that our families can have on how we eat.
Yeah.
And when we are in our 20s and 30s, we have the opportunity there to reframe some of those maybe ways of eating.
Taking control back of your diet.
Yes, and then passing that on to the next generation. So we do have a big responsibility now we have so much more information maybe than we had in the past, and thinking about what way do we want to eat that is going to support our health as we get older, that we can also pass on to our kids and grandkids too.
That is lovely. I love that sentiment. But it makes me think, how does one know which diet works best for you?
Well, I mean, there is so many to choose from these days, isn't there? Like we said, all the different trends. I really like to focus on following as whole and unprocessed a diet as possible. So this is food that doesn't come in packets, that's not super convenient, ready to eat foods. Really going back, like we said, back to the basics of whole unprocessed foods. So a good tip for people is when you go into a supermarket, walk around the outside aisles first, because these are where you're going to find the fresh produce, the whole unprocessed produce, the fruits, the vegetables, the whole grains. These will often be a lot cheaper than things that you find. So supermarkets are very clever the way they've designed their stores. They want people to go for the more expensive convenience foods. They put all of the other stuff around the edges of the supermarket because that's where people are less likely to go. But if you walk around those edges first, that's where you're going to find the foods that will support your health. Things like the fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, whole grains like sweet potatoes, the whole unrefined carbohydrates, and incorporating those into your diet as a base is a really good place to start. Then when you look at your proteins, opting for things that are, again, in as whole a form as possible. So that could be fish, it could be animal proteins, or if you're vegetarian, it's looking at things like beans, pulses, and lentils. And I can't emphasize this enough, but really important to incorporate fat into your diet. Fat, like I said earlier, it's not to be feared. Healthy fats are good for your body. They fuel your brain, and our bodies do need them. So healthy fats, I'm talking about things like olive oil. I'm talking about avocados, things like oily fish, eggs. These are all sources of healthy fats that our bodies need to thrive. The last thing, and it's always the forgotten one, is fiber. Fiber is so important for building not just a healthy diet, but for also fueling your gut microbiome, because it's such an easy way of feeding these good bacteria. So in our digestive system, specifically in our large intestine, we have trillions of live microorganisms living there. This is called our microbiome.
Our little friends.
Our little friends, yes. And people think just of bacteria, but there's also lots of other things like fungi, viruses in there as well. And these all work together to send signals throughout our body. And we are learning more and more every day about the beneficial role that this gut microbiome has to play for our overall health. And it's things that you wouldn't even believe, Hala. It's not just digestive health, it plays a role in cardiovascular health,
Wow.
in weight management, even in mental health. It's been shown that these microbiome and the substances that they produce, how they play a role.
Yeah, the gut-brain connection.
Exactly, yes. So it's really worthwhile giving these bacteria and these fungi some attention. And how we do that is fueling them with fibre. So fibre is the food that these bacteria feed off. I like to think about it like a little garden. So fibre is the food that goes into our digestive system. This is what the bacteria feed off. And then as this bacteria is fermenting the fibre, it releases substances, lots of different types of substances, but things like short-chain fatty acids, that these confer health benefits. So a fibre is often known as a prebiotic. The probiotics are like the things that the bacteria feed off. And then the postbiotics, these are things like the short-chain fatty acids that are released. So by adding in extra fibre into your diet, you're doing your body a really, really good thing.
Amazing. I've seen that meal prepping had become a constant trend online with people that promote nutritious, healthy life, preaching about how much time and money it saves. And I've met people that meal prepping has saved their lives, if I'm honest. So what do you think of that? And how important is meal prep really?
I think meal prep is so underrated, actually. It's a way that people can really help to support their health goals, not just their nutrition goals, but their overall health goals. Because if you just spend a bit of time with your preparing your food for the week, it gives you more time to do the other things that you actually enjoy doing as well. So
it saves you money.
It saves you a lot of money. And this is a really good, important point. Healthy eating does not need to be expensive. It really does not need to be expensive. We do not need to be buying meal plans. Of course you can, if that's something that fits in with your lifestyle and you find a good meal provider that you like. But by doing some simple meal prep at the beginning of every week, an hour or two on a Sunday, you can really help to set yourself up for success. And one of the things that I love to support my clients to do is to aim for consistency when it comes to their eating. So consistency does not mean perfection. Consistency means getting it right most of the time.
Okay.
Not all of the time. So if we think there's a nice rule that a lot of people go by called the 80-20 rule. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Please tell us.
You can apply it to lots of different areas of your life, but specifically when it comes to nutrition, if you focus on eating well 80% of the time, it allows you that 20% of the time to maybe go a bit rogue with food. If you're out with friends and, you want to order dessert, or you go to a new restaurant and you want to try different foods, we want people to enjoy their food. We want people to... Guilt-free, absolutely. And I'm going off topic, but if we go back to meal prep, then that can really help with this consistency and with helping you to lay the foundations for that 80-20 rule. And when we talk about meal prep, it can be simple, Hala. It does not need to be complicated.
I'm so glad you said that, because what if someone doesn't know how to cook or doesn't know where to start?
So start with the basics. Start with just simply getting a couple of vegetables that you like, peeling them if they need to be peeled, chopping them up and popping those into the fridge. And then all you need to do during the week is steam them, roast them, add them all together. If it's proteins, you can prepare chicken in advance, you can prepare fish in advance, you can start soaking beans and lentils if you need to. But spending that couple of hours of a weekend day can get all of those components of your meals that you'd like to eat during the week ready, so that all you need to do when you come in after university or hard days of work, all you need to do is just put those components together and you have a really healthy, balanced meal.
Amazing.
You've prepped your vegetables, you've prepped your protein, you add in some healthy fats or maybe some fresh vegetables and you're good to go.
You make it sound easier than people expect, but I'm glad you framed it in that way, because there's a lot of fear about meal prepping as well, because it's like, oh, I don't want to eat the same food so many times, or I don't want to spend hours on my weekend just prepping food. So I think that connects with my next question is, what should people be wary of when receiving nutrition-related advice?
Be very wary of people giving nutrition advice who are not trained nutrition experts. There are so many influencers, and I will absolutely not name and shame anyone, but so many influencers that are very good at giving nutrition advice, which is not necessarily true. And there was a recent study done on the nutrition advice that comes from TikTok, and they found that only 2% of that advice was actually evidence-based and was correct. So there's like over 90% of advice coming from TikTok that is not correct.
That can be damaging.
It is so dangerous. It is so dangerous. And people tend to think, well, this works for me, therefore I'll put it on my social media. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's when people consume that information and apply it to themselves without thinking, is this the right fit for me, that where it can become dangerous. So we all have a responsibility to consume information responsibly, just the same way that influencers or social media celebrities have a responsibility to give out the right information. We as consumers need to take control as well of making sure that that advice that they're giving is actually correct. If you're in doubt, talk to a nutrition professional, talk to someone that has accreditations. So, for example, registered dietitians, that title is registered, which means that you have to meet certain criteria in order to call yourself a registered dietitian. You have to keep up with continuous professional development that is validated by whatever your registering body is.
Perfect. I'm sure our audience will appreciate that. Any other advice that you'd like to share?
If I could give one piece of advice to your listeners, it's really to try and bring back the joy to food. You know, really enjoy your eating. Make it a social occasion. Enjoy eating with your friends. Enjoy trying new foods. Enjoy going out to restaurants. Enjoy making food.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Aisling. This was great.
It's an absolute pleasure, Hala. Thank you so much.
Thinking about food every day of your life can be taxing, especially preparing it. That's when spending a couple hours on a Sunday to prepare your meals for the week can transform the way you eat and your relationship with food. You must also realize that the perfect diet does not exist, and instead, it should be tailored to your body and your needs. As a basic rule, this can look like incorporating whole foods, vegetables, and healthy fats into your meals. If you find this episode useful, please share it with a friend and leave us a word so we know we're doing well. If you're interested in learning essential adulting life skills, do check out the previous episode where I explored different topics all related to adulthood. Please remember to follow us and subscribe to this channel, and get in touch with us at thenationalnews.com, on Instagram, or at The National News on TikTok, where a video version of this series will be published. Leave us your comments or questions there so we can all learn how to adult together. I'm Hala Nasar, the host and producer of this series. This episode was audio engineered by Arthur Edison, and Dua Farid is our editor.